Right tackle, still a need for the New York Jets, although we are well into free agency. Plus, Tyler Conklin, he's visiting with the Los Angeles Chargers. Is his time with the Jets officially over? A lot to get into, and we'll cover everything surrounding the New York Jets right here, right now, on a Thursday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
What is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome back right here to another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. Here we are, March 20th, 2025. Appreciate the transparency. I know we're normally on at 8 p.m. every night. Last night I had to be a little later because I was on the AFC East roundtable. And then tonight I had to write the Mets recap for the Mets site I write for called Metsmerized online. So I appreciate you guys tuning in here. I know it's a bit of a later start time, so make sure you smash the like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It is completely free and it helps us grow significantly here on the show. That's the free way to help us grow. The paid way helps us just as much. You can get into our membership raffle. Every $2.99 super chat or every gifted membership will get you a ticket into our raffle. The prizes we're giving away this month include a Wayne Corbett signed jersey, Darrelle Revis signed photo, Altoon signed photo, Keyshawn Johnson signed photo, Jericho Cotchery signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. So make sure to get in on that if you haven't already. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. If you want to call in, you could do so with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. I can't thank you guys enough for all of your support here on the show. But nevertheless, let's just dive in really to the main topic of today's video. And like I said, if you guys have any questions throughout this discussion, feel free to throw them in the chat. We will certainly get to those, and you can call in the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Now, right tackle, guys. The Jets entering free agency. Darren Muji made it very, very clear about his approach. He's going to gamble on upside with younger guys. He's not going to try to break the bank on going after veterans, giving them expensive one-year deals. He was very clear that he was not going to really overpay for anyone, that he was going to stick to his mantra of just really signing guys on one-year deals, seeing what they have, and gambling on upside. And I thought Darren Muji did a great job of executing that plan overall. But one signing I will say that was quite puzzling for me was the Chamuka Okafor signing that Darren Muji made. Now, Okafor is someone who the Patriots signed to a one-year deal last year in the hopes of him being their starting left tackle. Keep in mind, he's been a right tackle his entire career. They tried converting him over to left tackle. He didn't win the job in training camp. Then he had to come in and play week 1 due to an injury, played 12 snaps, allowed 6 pressures, was benched, flat out left the Patriots, just left the organization after their week 1 matchup, and now he signs to a one-year deal with the Jets. There's been a lot of speculation based on his one-year deal. Is he going to be the starter? Is he going to be a backup? Is there a difference between him, Max Mitchell, and Carter Warren? Well, let me give you my stance on Okafor and the entirety of the Jets tackle room and potentially names they could target here. Okafor is someone I view as a great depth piece. Certainly not a starter. I know people are going to point to a lot of his numbers last year and say, well, yeah, he left the team after one game. That was at left tackle. His numbers and pass protection throughout his career at right tackle are actually pretty impressive. So I think if you can bring Okafor in on a one-year deal, which the Jets did, and he's backup and he's tackle depth for you, I think that's the ideal plan when it comes to him. I don't want him to be the starter. I really don't. I just don't feel comfortable with someone, although I think people should forget about what he did last year, just given the fact that it was at left tackle. I don't feel comfortable giving this guy the starting job, especially when there are options out there in the draft, still options who are remaining in the second wave of free agency. I think the Jets could really go after. So I think Okafor is a solid depth piece, but not a starter in my eyes. And there have been multiple talks what the Jets could do with this offensive line room. There's talks, well, you could slide AVT out to tackle, slide Tippmann back into guard, and then you could make Josh Myers your starting center. I don't think that's a worthwhile plan for this team. I think what this team should do, have 4 fits of your offensive line solidified in Joe Tippmann, in Morgan Moses, in John Simpson, and in Olu Fashanu. You're still looking for that starting caliber right tackle. I don't think you have that in Okafor. So I think what this team needs to do, they can look to the draft, second wave of free agency, or even both to help kind of address this. I think it's safe to say it's pretty much a glaring need at this point. Like, it's really, really important to have your entire offensive line solidified. I know it's crazy because us Jet fans, we go into every year. This seems like the first time in forever. We're not entering this an offseason saying they need to revamp the entire offensive line room. So it's great that they have 4 fifths in place, but I think you still need that fifth piece, that fifth legit starting right tackle in this league. And there's a few names that often come to mind with free agency. I'll throw out 2 names, one I'm really high on, one not so much. The popular name, who I am not high on, is Jedrick Wills. Former first-round pick in 2020, was a right tackle in college. We still haven't seen him take a snap at right tackle at the NFL level. And there are talks about the Jets signing him to a 1-year deal. Oh, he'll come in, he'll be this team's starting right tackle. I think that's an absolute joke when you haven't seen someone take a snap at that position throughout the entirety of their career, and they have struggled at left, and he has struggled at left tackle throughout his career too. That is something that's scary for me. Plus, the fact he was injured a lot last year, and when he was talking to the media about it, he said to the media it was a business decision to sit down for the rest of the season. You could think that, like Jedrick Wills playing for the Browns, he could think that, obviously. But never do you say that to the media. Is that someone Aaron Glenn really wants on his team? So someone who you haven't seen a right tackle, someone who has not been very productive, someone who's dealt with injuries, 3 strikes and you're out. No for me on Jedrick Wills. Someone who's been very, very durable, who's a veteran, who has a lot of experience at the right tackle position, who I'm super, super interested in as a free agency target, is Kendall Lamb. Kendall Lamb was with the Dolphins last year, 32 years old, 10-year NFL veteran. He started 44 of the 119 games he's appeared in. He played 7 games at right tackle for the Dolphins last year and had 2 appearances at left tackle. It is a solid 2024 season overall, allowing him 12 total pressures on 336 pass blocking snaps, only committed 1 penalty, didn't allow a sack. He struggled a little bit as a run blocker throughout his career. However, he has excelled overall as a pass blocker throughout his entire career. He could be that perfect, cheap, stopgap veteran option for this team. Spotrac predicts his contract to be at $2.9 million. The Jets could afford that. This is someone who's a great in pass protection, someone who's an NFL veteran, a ton of experience as a right tackle. Why not take, I don't even want to call it a flyer because he's an older guy. Why not just sign him and he could be your stopgap guy? I think this could be a perfect route for the Jets to take when it comes to going the free agency direction. Now, in the draft. The draft's really interesting at the right tackle position because many fans look and they say, well, you drafted Olu Fashanu last year. They can't draft another offensive line. And that's what a lot of fans were saying once the pre-draft process kicked off. But now Armand Membou goes out, has an absolutely insane combine. And now there's talks he's not even going to be there when the Jets are there's talks he's not even going to be there when the Jets are on the clock with the 7th overall pick. And if he is there, multiple people believe that the Jets will take Membou. Look, when it comes to the regime's stance on trying to draft a tackle, they're not going to keep in mind what we're keeping in mind here, in the sense that this former regime drafted 3 tackles. They're not thinking about that. This is a clean slate. They're going to come in, and if they really, really like Armand Membou and they really, really think he can solidify this entire offensive line, the Jets are going to draft him. This regime, I don't think, is going to care about what Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh did, in the sense drafting all those tackles. It's a clean slate for these guys. They're going to come in, and they're going to try to establish their identity, establish their culture. So if they're all in on Armand Membou, they're going to take Armand Membou. Personally, I would not be a fan of the pick just because it's not that he's a bad player. I think Armand Membou is a really, really solid player. I just think you can get better value at the tackle position later in the draft. I would rather go with a weapon type guy with the 7th overall pick, whether that's Tyler Warren, whether that's Ted McMillan. I'd be on board for a guy like Emeka Egbuka. I would rather go that. I would rather take that route with the 7th overall pick and then address tackle in the 2nd or 3rd round. And Ariante Ursary is someone who catches a lot of eyes. I mean, Cameron Williams from Texas is another name that a lot of people are interested in. I mean, Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College. If you've been listening to the show, you hear me talk about him. He's my guy at Boston College, played the gap-heavy run scheme. He's the perfect makings, really, of a zone blocking scheme guy with his size, overall power, 6'8", 309 pounds, a lot of successful run reps. I am super, super high on Ozzy Trapillo. And their talks he might not even be there in the third round. When the pre-draft process kicked off, it was Ozzy Trapillo. He's gonna be a fourth round guy. He's gonna be a fifth round guy. No, their talks he might even go in the second round now. So the only tackle really the only tackles, I'm gonna make that plural, I would feel comfortable, none in the first round. In the second round, if the Jets really want to address this in the second round, the guys I would look at, Ariante Ursary, Josh Connerly if he falls, Josh Simmons if he falls. Those are the three guys I'm really looking at realistically when it comes to who the Jets could draft here with the 42nd overall pick. Third round, you're opened up to a guy like Wyatt Millum from West Virginia, someone I really like. Trapillo, who we just spoke about. Anthony Belton, all these different guys. Anthony Belton from NC State, all these different guys that, yes, Armand Membu, I think, is the best tackle in this year's class in my eyes. Best tackle in this year's class, in my opinion. Doesn't mean the Jets should take him. I just don't think the overall positional value is there for Membu. I don't think the position of value is up to par compared to getting your wide receiver 2 in Ted McMillan, getting your tight end 1, getting your offensive Swiss Army knife in Tyler Warren. I just don't think the overall draft value is there when it comes to taking a guy like Armand Membu. That's just me personally. So I appreciate you all tuning in here on the show. Make sure you smash the like button and you are subscribed to the channel. I can't thank you guys enough for all your support here on the show. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. Submitting questions, calling into the show, a great way to contribute. So please, please, please throw your questions in the chat. Like I said, call into the show, pin comment, smash the like, hit subscribe, and get into our membership raffle. The leaderboard's on down below. Every $2.99 super chat, every gifted membership will get you a ticket into our raffle. I can't thank you enough for all your support here on the show, talking draft, talking free agency, talking all things New York Jets really here every single freaking day. Every day. And fluctuates. It's been fluctuating on the time, but every day we're here talking Jets. Started at 9:30 because I had a Mets conflict, but normally we're on here normally around 8 p.m. So if you're new, I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like and make sure you are subscribed. I can't thank you enough, like I said, for all your support here on the show. Let's get into our questions here in the chat. Where were we here? Yo Holmes says, I'd be stunned if Ozzy's a second rounder. I could see him being a late second round guy in that 60 range, that 58, 64 range. I wouldn't be surprised. He's been skyrocketing up draft boards. He has the size. He's a mauler in the run game, comes from a run heavy scheme. I would not be surprised if he goes late second round. Yo Holmes at 42, there will still be premier talent at tackle and tight end. So you're saying, would your argument Tet or a quarterback? What's your argument here? Tight ends, I think the cream of the crop at 42 when it comes to tight ends. I think Colston Loveland's going to be off the board. I think Elijah Arroyo, realistically, is really your best option at tight end at 42. I really, really like Arroyo. Someone who dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his college career, which is a concern, but great rapport with Cam Ward this past season. 6'4", 245. Great route runner, has that vertical athleticism. At 6'4", 245 pounds, really, really solid, proportionate, built NFL frame. I'm high on Arroyo. And then when it comes to the tackles, like I said, Ariante Ursary, Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, guys of those nature. If you want to reach on a guy like Cam Williams, maybe. The guy from Arizona, Jonah, I'm blanking on his last name. It starts with an S. I don't know how to pronounce it, but there are a lot of tackles in this year's draft for sure. Our guy Jack Talks Jets comes in. Jack will be on Next Gen Jets. We're expanding with one of our new hosts, Josh Wolliver, tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. EST following our 8 p.m. show here. So have the link set up for that show, so I will throw it in the chat. So make sure you could pop over there, set a quick notification for their show, and then hop right back on over here to stick with us. But there's the link. Go in there, hit a like to help support Next Gen Jets, and tune in tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. EST. Great stuff with Jack and Josh. It's always debut of a new program, and then Chris and I are on Saturdays at 9:30. Chris and I will be on here chopping up a new expansion of Next Gen Jets. So I appreciate it. As always, please check it out if you haven't already. Jet up, Caden. Appreciate you tuning in since I want to tackle on day 2. I think the best value is in the 3rd round. Like, you can get an Ursery, a Connerly, a Simmons at 42. The overall best draft value, which I've been talking about for a super, super long time, like for a really, really long time right now at this point, I would be interested in that 72 range, 72 to 109. In that range where the Jets' 2 picks are, that's where I want to go tackle because I think the best value is there 1000%. Jack Tucks, oh no, we got, did we get to this? Oh yeah, I don't think we addressed Bond. We addressed the show there. My bad, Jack. Get Bond at 73 if he's available, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be there at 73, Jack, if I had to be completely honest. But Isaiah Bond, another great receiver, dynamic athlete overall, really fluid mover, dangerous after the catch, a yak machine, vertical threat, that high end speed. Another guy, 5'10", 180 pounds. How many of those of Xavier Gibson special teams type builds could we have? I'm really looking for the big body, the big contested catch guys in this year's draft. A guy like Jaden Higgins, even Savion Williams, who's 6'5", 225, explosive burst, great strength. Those are the guys I'm looking at. If you're going to go with one of the smaller receivers, my guy then at that point is Xavier Restrepo at 42. So I like Isaiah Bond. I like his speed. I don't know if I want to burn a 3rd round pick on him when you could just get Restrepo, who has a more explosive skill set than him in the 2nd round. So, like Bond as a prospect, I don't know if I'd want him at 73 though, in my eyes. Alan, before we get to that, Alan comes in, says wide receiver at 42. Who do you want at 42, Alan? Restrepo? I think Restrepo or Besh. Jack Besh from TCU is another name. I think those are the 2 guys the Jets could realistically take at 42. Other than that, I don't see them taking a wide receiver there. Yo Holmes, CBS Sports, Mark Sanders to the Jets. Thoughts? Yo Holmes, we've been seeing that for a long time now. I don't think it's going to happen, especially after they sign Fields. I think it would be a massive mistake to draft a quarterback in this year's draft in the 1st round. Like, I'm all for taking a dart throw on a developmental day 3, late day 2 kind of guy. I just don't want to draft a quarterback in the 1st round by any means. It's not worth it. Another thing, I don't want the value. I don't like the value. I don't think any quarterback's going to be worth it, especially when you just paid Justin Fields $40 million. No, thank you. So no to Shedeur Sanders for me. And then, again, I didn't want Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback this year, but the whole Bill Parcells thing, it's a non-celebrity quarterback. Get rid of Aaron Rodgers to bring in Shedeur Sanders, a little hypocritical there. That would be by Aaron Glenn and Darren Mushi. And I'm sure a lot of the Rodgers truthers would hate it. Jets Worldwide, our guy Snowball, Chris, Jack, and I will be on Snowball's show tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. EST. So check Snowball out. And Snowball and Johnny, pop over there. Give him a sub. Great work as always. Comes in, says, what do you think Engstrand's tendency will be on offense? Run heavy, pass heavy. Here's the thing. The question is that I think the question really here overall now, Snowball, when you look at after the Jets signing Justin Fields, how much will Justin Fields impact the Jets' offensive scheme? Because I don't think Tanner Engstrand is going to implement what the Lions did. I don't think that's going to happen. If they kept Aaron Rodgers, it would have been pass heavy. Now with Justin Fields, I think it's going to be a more run and gun, heavy style offense. You signed a fullback, which is interesting. Nobody's really talking about that because that was a really, really early signing. The Jets signed a fullback, Andrew Beck, excuse me. He was with the Broncos with Muji. You can run a triple option offense with Brees or Braylon in the backfield, Beck is your fullback, and then you have Justin Fields at the helm. I think it's going to be a run-heavy, run-and-gun style offense where you don't need Justin Fields to complete every single pass in order to win. I think that's what's going to happen. Yo Holmes says T-Mac doesn't make it out of the top 9. I'm a big Ted fan. If you guys been watching the show, he's been my pick at 7 for a long time. I just think the Jets really, really need to find that true big-bodied wide receiver 2 type guy to line up across Garrett Wilson. And I think Ted could realistically be that guy for the Jets. He's going to be there at 7, in my opinion, and I think you have to take him. I would be more than happy with the Jets taking Ted McMillan at pick 7. Ted McMillan, Tyler Warren, Emeka Ibuka, Mike Green, those are my guys. Those are my guys in this year's class, especially at pick 7. Holmes comes back in, not high on the late round wide receivers in this class. If Garrett goes down, Jets are totally screwed. I don't know if I'd say that. I like some of the later round guys. Savion Williams, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel are the guys I'm primarily high on. I think you could draft 2 wide receivers in this year's draft. And I think they should, because Garrett Wilson and who else in this receiver room? Alan Lazard, who might not even be on this roster. Like, who knows? So I think you got to draft 2 guys, and I think they could still sign a free agent. I'm concerned with the wide receiver room as it stands. I'm not concerned with this draft class. I really like the receiver draft class. Paul Costa, one of our Patriots fans in the building. Paul, appreciate tuning in. How many win for the Jet Airliners this season? Paul, if I had to make a prediction, 6 to 7. But you're telling me Justin Fields could play 10 games, Tyrod start 10 games, Tyrod starts 7. A ceiling, I think, is at 9 and 8, 10 and 7. With competent coaching, a solid defense, those guys hold up. I'm just going to say, it's not the craziest thing in the world to think that. It's not the craziest. That's what I'm going to leave it at here. Jack comes back and says, although Corley's not a clear wide receiver 2 at all, in my opinion, I'm excited to see what Engstrand can do with him. Hope he does well with us for year 2 if he can. The problem is Jack last year is he dropped the ball at the goal line during the Halloween game, first off. Second thing, the Jets just couldn't find a way to use him. If he was in Kevin O'Connell's offense, he would have been a prime piece. He was with the 49ers. The day they hired Tanner Engstrand, Jack, my whole thing was, look at what the Lions did with Jameson Williams. Had the off-field issues similar to Corley. Same skill set. They found a role for him with those gadget plays. They made him earn that role, too. I'm hoping he can implement that with Malachi Corley, but based on what we saw from him last year, you got to enter the season, like I did last year with Alan Lazard, expecting absolutely nothing out of him, and anything you get is a bonus. That's the way I'm approaching Malachi Corley. I don't think you can rely on a specific role for him right now. So that's where I am overall on Corley. Alan says, I'm with Mathis, Warren, Membu, or trade down. I'd say Warren. Sorry, I think I muted my mic there by accident. I said I'd say Warren, Tet, or trade down. The problem with the trade down is I just don't see anyone coming up for anyone. What team is going to want to trade up for who? That's the problem when it comes to talking about a trade down scenario. Unless you trade down really, really late, or some team is super, super high on Jackson Dart. Who knows? Like, it'll be interesting with the Titans or the Browns, for example, because they could both use an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, but they also both need a quarterback. Remember what the Texans did a few years ago with Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud? I wouldn't be surprised if a team did that in this year's draft. I really wouldn't, especially looking at the team's needs in the top 3. Like, none of those teams are just a quarterback away from having success. They all have massive roster issues overall. Their roster is super, super weak. Browns, maybe. I don't think the Giants would do it. Browns, Titans, maybe. Teams with a lot of draft capital. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. Jet Up comes in. Our guy Caden back in the chat says T-Mac or Higgins in round 2. Depends who's on the board in the first round. Preferably T-Mac in round 1. My ideal first 2 rounds right now are T-Mac in round 1, Nick Amanwari in round 2. That's my hope right now. That's my hope that will happen for the first 2 rounds of the Jets draft. Amanwari from South Carolina, just an insane safety. There's talks of him even going to the first round now. Again, another guy, pre-draft process kicks off, 3rd, 4th round guy, day 3. And now he's being talked about as a first-round pick, and certainly will be picked in the early 2nd round if he's not already gone by the first round, by the time the Jets are on the clock. So he's a really, really solid safety. Alan comes in, says Bears to 7 for Genty if he's there. Great fit for BN. I don't get that. Ben Johnson? I don't know if you're trying to say Ben Johnson there, but yeah, Genty is someone I do full 32-team NFL mocks and just like my free time for the first round. I've had Genty going to the Bears at 7 quite often. How much would they be willing to give up for him though? I think if you could trade back to 10 and pick up an extra 3rd round pick, that would be worth it. Like, let me check their draft picks this year. Let me just check their draft picks because I know they have a really, really high second round pick. I know they have the 39th overall pick because I've explored a trade back with them so many times. Okay, so they have the 10th pick, the 39th pick, the 41st pick, and the 72nd pick. Look at how ironic that is. Their second round pick is the pick right before the Jets. Their third round pick is the pick right before the Jets. I would do 10 and 72 so you could double up back-to-back picks there for 7. I would be willing to do that, and I think they would do that if they're really, really all in on Genti. I just don't know if that's where they are right now. I think that's the guy who can really, really change their offense as a whole. So, certainly interesting to look out for, though. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. It's completely free, and it helps us grow significantly here on the show. Can't thank you enough for all your support. As always, you guys are the best. Appreciate it as always. Last chance to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Last chance to get your final questions, comments, thoughts in here before we wrap up. I can't thank you enough for all of your support here on the show. And yeah, you guys are the best. Can't thank you. Can't thank you enough as always, for sure. So last chance to get in on the conversation with the pinned comment. Last chance to get your questions in here before we wrap. Back tomorrow at 8 p.m. And then Jack and Josh on here at 9:30. So stay tuned for that as well. A lot of fun content coming up here on Saturday nights. Chris and I on the show. A lot of super fun content coming here. So yeah, like I said, gonna wrap up here soon. So last chance to get in on the conversation, like the video, hit subscribe, please. Completely free, and it really helps us grow significantly here on the show. Can't thank you guys enough for all your support. As always, that'll do it for me. I am your host, Connor Long, signing off right here on NY Flight. Jets Talk, JTS, Jets.